Have you ever wondered why some people seem to accomplish 10 times more than others with the same 24 hours? Why do they appear calm, focused, and unstoppable while the rest of us feel scattered, overwhelmed, and constantly busy but never truly productive? The answer isn't what you think. It's not about working harder, sleeping less, or using the latest productivity app. The secret lies in something the ancient Stoic philosophers discovered over 2,000 years ago, something modern neuroscience is finally proving to be the ultimate game changer: mental minimalism. Picture your mind as a smartphone. Right now, you probably have dozens of apps running in the background, notifications constantly pinging, and your battery draining faster than you can charge it. What if I told you that 99% of those mental apps are completely unnecessary and actually sabotaging your success? Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful emperor in history, wrote in his personal journal that the key to extraordinary achievement was not adding more to his mind, but ruthlessly removing everything that didn't serve his highest purpose. Steve Jobs built Apple by obsessing over what not to include in his products. Warren Buffett attributes his wealth to saying no to almost everything so he could say yes to the few things that truly mattered. This is mental minimalism, and it's about to transform your entire relationship with productivity, success, and inner peace. But here's the problem most people face, and maybe you're experiencing this right now. You wake up, and within minutes, your brain is flooded with decisions. What to wear, what to eat, what to check first on your phone, which task to prioritize, how to respond to that email, what to think about that conversation from yesterday. By the time you've had your morning coffee, you've already made hundreds of micro-decisions that have drained your mental battery before your day has even begun. This is decision fatigue, and it's the silent productivity killer that nobody talks about. Every single choice you make, no matter how small, uses the same mental energy you need for creative thinking, problem solving, and executing on your most important goals. But it gets worse. Modern life bombards us with what psychologists call cognitive clutter. Every notification, every piece of information, every option presented to us creates mental noise that makes it nearly impossible to think clearly. Your brain, designed for survival in simple environments, is now trying to process more information in one day than our ancestors processed in their entire lifetimes. The result? You feel busy but not productive. You're constantly multitasking but never truly focused. You have more tools and resources than ever before, yet you feel more scattered and less effective than previous generations who had far fewer options. Here's the truth that traditional productivity experts won't tell you: the solution isn't adding more systems, apps, or techniques to your life. The solution is subtraction. It's about creating space in your mind so that what truly matters can breathe, grow, and flourish. This is where mental minimalism becomes your secret weapon. It's not about living with less stuff, although that can help. It's about thinking about fewer things so you can think more deeply about the right things. It's about creating mental white space that allows your brain to operate at its highest capacity. Ancient philosophers understood this intuitively, but modern neuroscience has proven exactly why it works. When your brain isn't cluttered with unnecessary decisions and distractions, something extraordinary happens. Your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for executive function, creativity, and strategic thinking, can finally operate at full capacity. Think about it this way. Imagine you're trying to have a deep, meaningful conversation in a crowded, noisy restaurant. You might hear some words, catch fragments of ideas, but you'll never experience the full depth and richness of what's possible. Now imagine having that same conversation in a quiet, beautiful space where every word can be heard clearly, every nuance appreciated. That's the difference between a cluttered mind and a minimalist mind. The 4 pillars of mental minimalism will give you that quiet, spacious mind where extraordinary thinking becomes not just possible, but inevitable. These aren't modern concepts invented by productivity gurus. These are timeless principles discovered by the greatest minds in history and validated by cutting-edge research in neuroscience and cognitive psychology. The first pillar is decision architecture. This is about designing your environment and routine so that the right choices become automatic, and the wrong choices become impossible. Barack Obama wore the same style of suit every day as president because, as he explained, he had too many important decisions to make to waste mental energy on clothing choices. This isn't about being boring, it's about being strategic with your finite mental resources. You're going to create what I call decision templates. These are predetermined frameworks that eliminate the need to think about routine choices. What you'll eat for breakfast, when you'll exercise, how you'll structure your morning routine, what you'll wear on different occasions. By the end of the first week, you'll have eliminated hundreds of daily micro-decisions that were silently draining your mental energy. The second pillar is attention sovereignty. This means taking complete control over what enters your mental space and when. In a world designed to capture and monetize your attention, this is perhaps the most radical act you can perform. You're going to learn to treat your attention like the precious, non-renewable resource it is. This goes far beyond just turning off notifications, although that's part of it. You're going to create what philosophers call sacred boundaries around your mental space. Specific times for information consumption, clear protocols for handling interruptions, and most importantly, designated periods of complete mental silence where your brain can process, integrate, and create without any external input whatsoever. Just as a museum curator carefully selects which pieces deserve space in an exhibition, you're going to become the curator of your own thoughts. Not every thought deserves your attention. Not every problem deserves your mental energy. Not every opportunity deserves your consideration. This is where most people struggle because they believe they need to think about everything that crosses their mind. But the Stoics understood that we become what we repeatedly think about. If you're constantly thinking about problems you can't solve, conflicts you can't control, and scenarios that may never happen, you're training your brain to live in a state of perpetual stress and inefficiency. You'll learn the ancient practice of thought sorting, where you categorize every thought into 3 buckets: thoughts that require immediate action, thoughts that deserve scheduled consideration, and thoughts that should be immediately released. This simple practice alone will free up enormous amounts of mental bandwidth for what truly matters. The 4th pillar is strategic ignorance. This might sound counterintuitive in our information-obsessed culture, but it's actually the highest form of intelligence. Strategic ignorance means deliberately choosing not to know certain things so you can know other things more deeply. Warren Buffett doesn't follow minute-by-minute market fluctuations because he knows that information would make him a worse investor, not a better one. He practices strategic ignorance so he can focus on long-term value creation. You're going to identify the information, news, gossip, and data that adds noise to your life without adding value, and you're going to systematically eliminate it. Now, let me show you exactly how to implement these 4 pillars in your daily life with a week-by-week system that builds naturally and sustainably. Week 1 is about decision architecture. You're going to audit every decision you make in a typical day. Carry a small notebook or use your phone to track every choice, from what you eat for breakfast to which route you take to work. Most people are shocked to discover they make over 200 conscious decisions before noon. Once you've identified your decision patterns, you're going to create templates for the routine ones. Plan your meals for the entire week on Sunday. Choose your clothes the night before. Create a standard morning routine that requires zero thinking. Set up automatic systems for bills, savings, and regular purchases. By the end of week 1, you should have eliminated at least 50 daily decisions. Week 2 focuses on attention sovereignty. You're going to conduct what I call an attention audit. For 3 days, track everything that demands your attention: phone notifications, emails, conversations, thoughts, external noises, visual distractions. You'll be amazed at how many attention thieves are operating in your environment without your conscious awareness. Then you're going to create attention boundaries. Choose specific times for checking email instead of responding reactively. Turn off all non-essential notifications. Create a physical workspace that supports deep focus. Most importantly, establish what the ancients called contemplative hours, periods of complete silence where your mind can process and integrate information without any input. Week 3 is about cognitive curation. You're going to learn the practice of thought catching. Throughout the day, when you notice your mind wandering or getting caught up in unproductive thinking patterns, you're going to pause and ask 3 questions. Is this thought useful right now? Is this something I can actually influence or control? Does thinking about this move me closer to my goals? If the answer to any of these questions is no, you're going to practice what the Stoics called prosoke, redirecting your attention to something that serves your highest good. This isn't about suppressing thoughts or pretending problems don't exist. It's about becoming selective with your mental energy so you can apply it where it will have the greatest impact. Week 4 introduces strategic ignorance. You're going to identify and eliminate sources of information that create mental noise without adding value to your life. This might include certain news outlets, social media feeds, gossip channels, or even well-meaning friends who constantly share their problems without seeking solutions. Create what I call information fasting, periods where you deliberately disconnect from external input so your brain can do its most important work, thinking original thoughts, making creative connections, and processing experiences into wisdom. Some of history's greatest insights have come not from consuming more information, but from creating space for deeper understanding to emerge. Throughout all 4 weeks, you're going to use 3 sustainability techniques that ensure these changes become permanent rather than temporary improvements. The first is micro-expansion, making each change so small that it feels almost effortless. Instead of trying to transform your entire life overnight, you're going to make tiny adjustments that compound over time. The second technique is, never zero. Even on your worst days, you're going to do something, however small, to maintain your mental minimalism practice. Maybe it's just taking 3 conscious breaths before checking your phone, or asking yourself one curating question about a stray thought. Consistency, not perfection, creates transformation. The third technique is intelligent rewards. Instead of rewarding yourself for doing the practices, you're going to learn to find reward in the practices themselves. Notice how much clearer you think when your mind isn't cluttered. Pay attention to how much more energy you have when you're not making hundreds of unnecessary decisions. Feel the deep satisfaction that comes from focused, intentional living. As you implement these 4 pillars, you'll start to notice changes that go far beyond productivity. Your relationships will improve because you'll be truly present instead of mentally scattered. Your creativity will flourish because you'll have mental space for new ideas to emerge. Your decision-making will become more confident because you'll have eliminated the noise that clouds judgment. Most importantly, you'll discover what the ancient philosophers knew, that a simplified mind is not a limited mind, but a powerful mind. When you remove everything that doesn't serve your highest purpose, what remains is your essential self operating at its fullest potential. The emperors, philosophers, and visionaries throughout history who achieved extraordinary results understood this fundamental truth. They didn't succeed because they could handle more complexity than others. They succeeded because they had the wisdom and discipline to eliminate complexity so they could focus completely on what truly mattered. Your mind is your most valuable asset, more precious than any external resource or tool. By applying mental minimalism, you're not just improving your productivity, you're reclaiming your mental sovereignty and unlocking the extraordinary potential that has always existed within you. The question isn't whether mental minimalism works. History and science have already proven its effectiveness. The question is whether you're ready to experience the clarity, focus, and deep satisfaction that comes from a mind operating at its highest capacity. Are you ready to let go of mental clutter and embrace the power of a minimalist mind? Are you prepared to discover what becomes possible when you stop trying to think about everything and start thinking deeply about what truly matters? The 4 pillars are waiting for you, and your transformation begins the moment you decide to take the first step.